Welcome back to the workshop, handyman. Today we're going to be over into the mechanic side of the shop. It looks like we're going to try to figure out. I've got a little snapper lawnmower that was brought in here yesterday, and about the only thing I've done to it so far. The battery was dead, so we went ahead and put a charge on that, checked it over. It looks like it's a pretty new battery, so I think we're good on that. We pulled the seat out of the way so we have some room to move around. Just said it was running, and then they went to start it and it wouldn't start again. So preliminary check, I went ahead and just went over it. I normally do. I checked the oil. The oil is good. It's got plenty of that, which shouldn't really keep it from running unless you run it without oil for a while. Then it will definitely seize it up. I did go ahead and I pulled the spark plug just to make sure it wasn't real dirty, and it was a little bit black, but it was good. I think we're in good shape there. It didn't look to be real bad. I did pull the air filter off of the carburetor. And when I did that, I've brought that over here and I took it apart, and I've taken, it was quite nasty in here. I've cleaned a lot of it up, but the filter itself is terrible. The bottom side of it, as you can see, is totally shot. So I've had to order one of those. So that's going to be probably a couple days before that comes in, but that shouldn't stop us from seeing if the thing will fire up and run a little bit anyways. So my suspicion is it's got gas. We've checked that. We've got to turn the fuel filter on, and then one thing we're going to do, we don't need the air filter on for that. We're going to go ahead and just check it real sure. Make sure your blade is off. It's in neutral. So that should be good. Deck height doesn't really matter. We've got a choke here. We could try to choke that and see. I think that was on choke. And so we're going to go ahead. I think it works. We're just going to go ahead and see if it'll fire up or what it's doing. So let's do that first. So we turn the key on. It definitely is not doing that. So I think what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and let's set this up a little bit, and we're going to just try a quick shot of starter fluid down in there and see if maybe that will get us up and running. Let's see here if we can give you a decent angle on that. Right there. Now this gas tank on this thing is really pretty easy. It really just sits on here, so you can take that out of the way and we can look right into the carburetor. So what we're going to do is just shoot a little squirt of it down in there and turn the key and see if it'll do it. And then just a little bit of starter fluid, and that is going to eliminate all the basic electricals and all that if it fires up at all, and maybe she'll just run. So we'll take a little squirt and fire it up. Okay, so I think that pretty much tells us that that should have stayed running if it was working. So I think what we've got is probably just a carburetor issue. It looks like it's not getting any gas in there. So we'll go ahead and start disassembling, remove the carburetor, see if we can pull that off, clean it up, see if the bulb's stuck, what's going on with it. So with that, we'll just shut off the fuel valve. If yours has got one. This is an older machine. This thing I think was back in 1980s, early 80s, I believe is what they said. And I can believe it when I went to look for the air filter. Most of the supply houses said, man, we ain't had that in stock in years. So anyways, we're just going to take the clamp back a little bit. Let's see if we can bust this thing off of here. It's probably going to get a little gas from the filter on, but we're going to try to save making a space. We'll check to make sure we're going to get gas out of this also, I guess. It'd probably be a good thing. Make sure that filter and all is not plugged. I don't know if we'll be able to see this or not. Yeah. I'm just going to make sure that the filter and all is still good. Looks like it's got gas there. I don't know, it's a little awkward to try to do with one hand. Yeah, it's flowing gas plenty good, so that's not the problem. It looks like it's going to definitely be something in the carburetor. So I'm not going to bore you with a lot of this, but we'll go ahead and get a little picture of what it's going to take to do the carburetor off of here. Let's see if we can kind of zoom in on it. So we've got, really it's just this screw, and it looks like another screw down. Let's see if I can get you in there to see it. There's a screw here and here. And then we'll have two linkages, it looks like. We've got this one with a little spring on it. I always like to kind of get a picture of what it looks like before I get started. That way, if I ever do get confused, when I go to put it back together, I know what goes where. And we do have, well, a little bracket there. We'll have to take that off to get the carburetor off of there. And so the two go from there over to this with the spring. And this other one is our choke, which should have been working when we did this. I wonder if that's even moving. Yeah, it looks like it is. So we'll go ahead and disconnect those couple screws, and we'll pull that off and check the float and stuff. So start there. Okay, we've got the carburetor off, and it's dirty nasty. We got the bracket off of there. The two linkages were hooked up here, and we had the little gas line was on this side, and then you have the little breather comes in on the bottom there. So what we're going to do is we're just dump the gas. It looks like it has gas down in there. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of clean this up a little bit before I take it all apart, and we'll pop this bowl off the bottom of it and see if it's the float and all's in there working. Okay, we've got the carburetor a little bit cleaned up. Get a little carburetor cleaner, it does pretty good. So we're just going to take the bulb off the bottom of this, see what we've got in here. Hopefully it'll come right on apart without too much trouble. I don't know when the last time. Ooh, that one there, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's, yeah, kind of try to, all kinds of gunk on that. So if that's any indication as to what's in here, we might have, ooh, yeah, I would say, I don't know how well you can see that, but you can see all the nasty down in there. That should not be there, so we'll dump that out. And then it looks like we'll need to do a little cleaning of this also. There we go. That's a little bit better. We'll wipe that all clean. But I would guess that probably all that dirt down in there is the majority of the problem, I would guess. Let's see what this is doing here. Oh, man, it's all dirty down into there. That should be all cleaned out. That's where this little jet is that should be in there. So we're going to have to dig around in that and see if I don't know if a carburetor cleaner is going to be enough to get that without doing a little bit of scraping and gouging and whatnot. And then the next thing we're going to look at is, I don't know how well you can see that. Yeah, that seems to be working up in here. I don't know, can I focus on that? You might be able to see it, but you can see the lever going up and down, and there's a little tiny jet or stop in there, and that's where your gas comes in. And when your float goes up and down, as you fill up your bowl, that gas will shut off, and then as it empties back out, that ball float will allow the gas to come in here through that little stop in there, and that all seems to be working well. So we're going to clean up this part though, because this has to be clean in order for it to get gas back up into the carburetor. So we're going to go ahead and work on that a little bit, get it cleaned up, clean this jet up a bit more, and see if we can make that a little bit better. So that'll be the next, just kind of go through and clean up parts. Okay, we've got it cleaned up a little bit, and you can look down in here. I'll say if we can do it. You can see there's a little place down in there. That actually is a block that you should be able to take out. I tried to put a screwdriver on that and worked on it a little bit, but I can't really bust that out of there. And make sure, like I say, when you're taking all these things apart, like this one here. This is going to control your gas and stuff. You don't want to really mess with those adjustments. So if you go to take it apart and free it up, just count your turns, how many you went one direction, and put it back where you had it after you get it cleaned up. And that little needle should go up and seat down into that hole. Then on the other side of it, we've got our other jet up here, and I've already loosened this up. And you can take that out because that's got to be checked to see that it's clear. And that's going to determine your gas getting up in there. And if we look at that, I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not. Yeah, there's a little glance of it. Let's see if I can get it again. I had it there for a second. There you go. That hole goes all the way through, and that's what this little seat here seats up against this pipe down at the other end. So what we're going to do is just take a little bit of air, and we're going to blow through that and make sure that the air comes out of these little holes here. So we'll blow it in here, make sure that that's good and clean, and that it's coming out that side, and that should just verify that we've got a good clear passage. That's a clear passage. The next one would be this one here, and we'll work on getting that put back in place first here and see how that looks. Okay, clean this out. I'm just going to take some carbon choke cleaner, and we're going to line that little hose up, and when we spray it down through here, we should have it coming out all those little ports. So we'll kind of hold it down here and I don't know if you'll be able to see it happening or not. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, you can see it coming out all the little ports there. So I think we're good and clean that way. So we can go ahead and place this back in the carburetor. We'll just take that, and that one goes all the way in and just tightens back up again. So we'll put that all the way back. Snug it down. So that's good there. And the bottom half of this is all good. I did blow, there's another port here. I did take a little bit of air. It comes in on this side, and you're just really blowing everything out and cleaning it out with the cleaner to make sure everything's good. If we had to, we could take this little pin out and pull that off, but I don't think it's a problem of it flooding because the gas isn't going anywhere, and that's generally it. And there was gas in the float, so I think we're good there. So we're going to go ahead and put the bowl back on and set this back in there. And snug it back up. It shouldn't need to be real tight, but you do want it snugged up enough so it don't leak. And that's got that one. So we should be good there. Now this one we're just going to verify that it's set, and that should be more or less your, I believe that would be considered your idle set, I think. So we'll go ahead and take that out and see just what that does. And there again, we're going to count the turns it takes to get it out, make sure there's nothing in there, and call that good. Okay, I've pulled that out. There is a little needle on the end of this one. We've cleaned that up. We've got in there and we cleaned that up, put a little bit of air to it, made sure everything was flowing through it. This one was actually about 4.5 turns out. So we start it and we'll just do half, 1, half, 2, half, 3, half, 4.5. Like I say, it's basically try to put it back where it was because it was running, so we don't need to mess with that too much. All the rest of our linkages look like they're working just fine. Springs are working. So I think that's about all we should have to do with this. We'll go ahead and put it back on there. It looks like it's cleaned up pretty good. Okay, so we've done that. We've got, we checked this gasket. Looks like it's in pretty good shape still. So we'll go ahead and make sure that's still good. We might just clean that off a little bit first. So we'll run a rag over that. If it was in bad shape, we'd have to replace it, but it looks like it's in pretty decent shapes. So let's just kind of clean it up a little bit. Make sure there's nothing on the other side here. That's good and clean, so it's good to go there. Put that back in there, line it up. And then when we go back together with the carburetor, usually I find it's easier to hook all these cables up in exactly the opposite direction in which you took them apart. So that flops around that little spring. Sometimes that's the tough part, is getting the two of them hooked back up. Looks like somebody's had this apart before because it's got a little bit of a mess on it, but let's see if we can stick that in there. And then this one has got to come back up here into this one. Well, I think that's where she went. Maybe I have to disconnect. Might have to do that the other way around. Nah, I think we can get it. And then the little air breather tube has to go in underneath that. If we can get it on there, should push right up onto it. Sometimes I wonder about those. Okay. I think that's got us about where we needed to be. Something's a little bit wrong, but might have to investigate to make sure we have everything working properly. So, let's see, I can get that back on. So we'll work on that a little bit, but that's the basic concept of that. Okay, so we went ahead and got her put back in. We hooked the gas lines back up. Let's see if we can get this indicated. We've got it hooked back up. The throttle linkage gave me still a little fit. I did have to go back and look at that to make sure I had it right. If we come around here, I think the part that I messed up on the most, I didn't really show. Those two show how it's hooked up. And then back underneath here, I don't know how well this is going to show up, but this has got to be, let's see if I can kind of give you an idea, but it's so hard to kind of see in there. I don't know if I held my hand there, so I'll kind of focus on that back in here or not. But the choke lever, I don't know if you can see that or not, goes up high. I had it hooked all the way down on that lever, way down into the bottom here. Boy, that was real messed up, but it don't hook back down onto that. So, anyways, so that was the only problem I run into there. So now it acts like it's gonna move the throttle levers and all. So we'll go ahead and see if she'll crank on up and see if that fixed the problem. So we've got our gas back on. We've got the gas tank set in place. And she fires right up. Give her a little bit of gas. And we shut her back off. I believe that was all it needed, is a good carburetor cleaning. So we'll get the air filter back on it, set the seat back on it, and we'll call that repaired. And take her out for a little run after a while, but I don't want to do that without the air filter on there. So we'll wait until next week to do that, but I think the main thing is to show you how this is hooked up in case you run into a old lawnmower like this one. So that'll wrap up a little project again today. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe to follow other projects that we have going on. Never know what we'll get into, and I appreciate y'all watching. And hey, send me a message and I'll answer back to everybody I can. And if you have any other things you need any questions answered, let me know. Thanks again.